What's going on? Feeling blessed. Never stressed. It is week 4, round 4, episode 4, 4. The warm-up. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, J. Dot. Happy to be here. Blessed to be here. Thank you for being here with me. We're going to talk some pregame NFL on this really wild week. There's some things to talk about. Shout out to everybody who's here right now. Everybody's going to see this when we post this online a little bit later. And the people that have been rocking since the beginning. Designated report. The warm-up. Let's get right into it. You know how we always started Thursday Night Football. So what happened when it was Cincinnati and Cleveland? We were talking about this. I wasn't into it, but got into it. So let's get into this real quick. We got a little, see if you can recognize this. We got a little Swiss Beats playlist today. If you like it, tell me turn it up. If you don't like it, I'm not turning it down. Thursday Night Football. Broncos, Jets. Ugly. High scoring, though. Kind of watchable, I guess. Jets fans, it's over. It's a wrap. And I apologize. It's not on me. And I also want to add that I don't think it's on Sam Darnold either. Is he throwing 5 touchdowns a game? He's not. Is he throwing for 300 every single game? He's not. He's not doing that. Is he Pat Mahomes? He's not. But I'm watching this guy with some arm talent. And he's making plays with his legs. Sam Darnold. I'm not saying he's the best I ever seen. I'm just saying the problem is not him. Adam Gase, we know what that's about. Right? Can we rebuild the offensive line? Remember when they went to 2 straight AFC Championship games without a quarterback? Defense, offensive line, running game. All right? Can we get back to that? I know that's not really the blueprint in today's NFL. We're throwing it around. I think Sam Darnold can do that, though. Broncos look pretty good. Pretty good. You had a quarterback making his first start, and Brett Rippon, nephew of Super Bowl champion Mark Rippon of the Washington football franchise, formerly known as, you know what they were known as. 3 picks, but he threw a couple scores. He took the team back and forth. He did his thing. Melvin Gordon went for $1 and a couple touchdowns. All right, Bradley Chubb was in the Jets backfield all day. 2.5 sacks, tackles for loss, QB hits. Was doing his thing. Back to Sam Darnold. I don't like how we set up franchise resets, because you'll go and get a coach and then we'll chop his head off if he's not getting it done. And that's cool. We do the same thing with quarterbacks, but I think you want more time for a quarterback to develop than you want a coach, right? So if the Jets get the first pick in the draft, they go 3 and whatever, 4 and whatever. I don't think they're winning 5 games. Who do you think they're going to pick with the first pick in the draft? Right? Trevor Lawrence. I don't think they're trading for a whole bunch of picks to build up the roster, which they should do. But what happens when you add Trevor Lawrence to this 3-4 win team? Are you a 9-win team? In 2 to 3 years before his rookie contract is up, are you going to the Super Bowl? You're not. And then you can't blame that again on Trevor Lawrence. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not in love with Sam Darnold. I just don't think he's the problem. There's holes. So it's definitely a tough situation for a young quarterback. The Jets got the Cardinals next week, so it's not going to get any better. The Broncos will be traveling to Massachusetts to take on the Patriots. We think. Speaking of the Patriots, COVID Cam. No disrespect. The news broke Saturday morning that Cam Newton has tested positive for the coronavirus. So he will not be playing this week. He has been added to the COVID-19 reserve list. Cam Newton will not be playing. And it's concerning from a football standpoint. Okay, I already didn't like this game for the Patriots, who've been playing well and Cam's been hooping. It won't be competitive now whenever they play the game. We'll get to that a little bit more. But what's important is, let's look at the silver lining here. Cam told us already that his family didn't move up with him because this is a business trip. So we're not worried about his significant other or his offspring, you know what I'm saying? But what about the people in the building? They tested everybody on Saturday, but it takes a few days for those test results to come back. So Is it the whole locker room? Is it the quarterback room? Coaches? Who has he interacted with? And now with the quarterback being somebody that's tested positive, I'm a little more concerned because this is a guy who is speaking to 10 other men in a huddle in close proximity, right? Barking them out 70 times in a game and in practice. Does he lick his fingers when he does his thing? I don't know. A lot of quarterbacks do. So he touches the ball every play. So a quarterback, to me, it's the worst case scenario for somebody coming down with this virus. And prayers up, and I hope it's a speedy recovery. However, it's at least 10 days or 14-day quarantine or something of that sort. So it might not just be this week that he's out. Chiefs reserve quarterback Jordan Ta'amu also has tested positive. So it's guys on both teams. Same thing. Like he's in the quarterback room with Patrick Mahomes. And then we don't know if that game, it's been rescheduled. It's been postponed. We don't know if it's going to be Monday or Tuesday. Here at Designated Report, we will let you know as soon as that news breaks about when the Patriots and Chiefs game will be played. So stay tuned. We'll let you know about that. The Saints fullback also tested positive. And we know about the Tennessee Titans, right? The amount of people in that franchise at last check was at 16. 16 people with the Tennessee Titans tested positive. So they won't be playing the Steelers this week either. This thing is spreading. And we knew that it was a concern. There's no bubble. The nature of the football, the game itself, the way that it's played, it's tough, man. It's tough. Okay, we got breaking right here. Monday at 7:15 p.m. That's when we can check out that Patriots-Chiefs game. I appreciate the people in the comments. All right. Breaking. Appreciate that. Speaking back on the Tennessee Titans and the Steelers who will not play this week. Heads up. Titans and Steelers will not play this week. This will be their bye week. A bye week 4, which is rough. So what do you do now? Well, we're talking about week 7 is when they're going to play that game because that's when the Titans have a bye. Do the Steelers also have a bye? Did it fall in place just like that? It didn't. So the Steelers are actually playing the Ravens week 7, but now they're going to play the Titans. The Ravens will have a bye week then, and then week 8, they'll be playing the Steelers. There's a lot to keep up with, and we'll help you keep up with all that. But the game for the Titans and the Steelers will be played week 7 now. Their bye week is this week. So think about the Titans and the Steelers who we're talking about. If this game were to be played, the Titans play the Steelers theoretically this week, and then they go on to play the Bills. Now, the Titans last week played the Vikings, who play the Texans today, and then they go on to Seattle. The Steelers team had the Titans play, keep up, would play Philly next week. And then after the Vikings play the Texans today, the Texans go to the Jags. It's spreading. If we're just going to play like nothing happens, we're talking about in a 2-week span, all the teams that I just read off to you, that's 1/4 of the league is exposed to this thing. So we got to get our hands on it right away. We got to figure this thing out. And luckily, the NFL is kind of doing that with this one game, but there's much more to be done. Now, the coaches are talking about altering just this. Speaking of the Steelers and the Titans. Instead of just altering that, some coaches are talking about readjusting the schedule to a 12-game season. What? The NFL was talking about 17 games and 18 games, and now, obviously, for obvious reasons, right? They're trying to go down to a 12-game season. Now, we're playing 3/4 of a season. How do we do that? This has major playoff implications, first of all. We talk every week about that 0-2 start is a death sentence. But now, if, hypothetically, we go to a 12-game season, are we talking about 1-2 now being that death sentence? Is that too much to overcome? Is 2-2 a 500 start, given how other teams have started? Is that too much? That's rough, right? So how are we gonna adjust this? What games are gonna be cut? Do you just chop off the end of the schedule? Now here's what they're talking about. you're going to cut 3 division games and then 1 just random game. The 1 random game, how do we choose that? And if we're talking about the 3 division games, that means you play each of your division opponents just 1 time instead of 2. I get it. Logistically, that's a really good way to keep it clean and level the playing field if we're going to chop some games. But what I don't like about that is now we're just picking, choosing random games for different teams throughout the season. And basically, I think Week 17 is gone for everybody because that's usually a division game, right? However, that patchy schedule still doesn't limit the exposure to each other throughout a wide landscape, right? We do need to adjust things, but the problem isn't that teams are playing each other and exposed to each other. The problem is that they're playing each other and exposed to each other right now. We talked about this spread. It's the COVID-19 edition of warm-up, apparently, and we're not done. So if you want to stop this thing from spreading, then you have to stop playing right now. I support the health of the people and the players, right? But we're here and we're playing the season, so it's tough for us to say, now let's stop. But what happens if you stop for those 4 weeks? All the people can be tested in your room, in your facilities, on your teams. They have ample time to quarantine, right? Is that not the better idea? Instead of my team plays week 8, week 9, week 11, and week 13, and week 15. How does that help? Because if somebody contracts it within that patchy schedule, your team is still hit. So if we take a little break here, everybody gets tested, you can get a full sanitation of your entire team's facilities, and we can really figure this thing out before we reset. Now, I'm not pitching that. I'm just saying if time had to be taken, if this thing goes through where it becomes a 12-game season, that's how you do that. Let's get it together, figure it out, and then let's move forward and finish strong and consistently this whole entire season. I don't know how that... Your tests come back again, adequate quarantine time, all facilities are deep clean, and the league gets time to retool the schedule because you don't want to lose those division games if you can't. What does it mean for primetime games too, right? That needs to be figured out. So the playoffs and the Super Bowl don't change. They don't get pushed back in that scenario. So it's something to think about if they go to 12 games. Again, it's just rumblings, but it's coaches. If the owners agree, who runs this league? Goodell? He works for the owners. And if this thing continues to spread, again, we're talking about the Saints, the Chiefs, the Titans, the Steelers, the New England Patriots. That's all like this week. We got to get our hands on this thing. Is there going to be an asterisk attached to this season? Yeah, probably. Probably. Does that trigger you? How many championships do the Spurs have? How many championships do the Patriots have? We talked about things that the coach and the player might have done, and they went ahead and won anyway. They still got their rings. The Spurs, shortened season, still got their rings. They're still great. What about the Washington football franchise in the 80s? How many Super Bowls does Washington have? Yeah, we count that too. Remember the strike? Remember the scrubs? We count that. So, however this ends, if somebody plays in the Super Bowl and they win the game, that's just what it is. These asterisks, they're not real. Let's just call it what it is. Let's find a safe way to move forward. Prayers up and blessings to everybody that's contracted the virus, and this is entertainment. This shouldn't be life or death for people. This is entertainment. Put people first, and your champion is your champion. Asterisk or not, whatever. So let's get on to the teams that are playing this week now. And chime in. If you don't agree, chime in. What up? I see people still coming through. J. Cole. I see the chat is going a little crazy. I see a little Carson Wentz slander in there, and that's fine with me. Baltimore over Washington. Tampa over San Diego. Seattle over Miami. Minnesota over Houston. New Orleans over Detroit. Dallas over Cleveland. Jacksonville over Cincinnati. Arizona over Carolina. The Rams over the Giants. Buffalo over Vegas. Buffalo's doing big things. Indianapolis over Chicago. That got pushed back to 4. That's a later game today. San Fran over Philly. Green Bay over Atlanta on Monday Night Football. And then I got KC over New England. Whenever that plays. Monday. 7:15. Right? Teams on the hot seat. All of the 0-3 teams, the seat couldn't get any hotter. That includes the Vikings and the Texans. I got the Vikings winning today, but I mean, they're playing the 0-3 Texans, so somebody's got to win. Still a team on the hot seat. Texans on the hot seat. Who else we got? And the Falcons. Like, come on. ATL. At 0-2-1, I'm talking about the Eagles. I wanted to tell you that they still had a shot. The Eagles. I just don't feel it in my gut right now. So, the Eagles, you're shot. You're shot. And Carson Wentz is turning the ball over too much. You're missing 3 linemen. You're not executing. Your players can't catch. Miles Sanders, okay. Nick Foles, where you at? Oh, Chicago. I was going for the Eagles. I want to tell you that they could. I can't see them doing any worse. I can't see them doing any better than 4-2 in the division, but that might win it for them. But I don't feel it in my gut. Eagles fans, like, tell me I'm bugging. I think it's a wrap. Shut it down, Philly. Let's move on. Let's move on, Philly. Doc Rivers is here with your 76ers. Focus on Doc. Focus on Joel Embiid. Focus on Ben Simmons. Get in the gym with Ben Simmons and shoot some threes because football season is not for you, Eagles fans. Shut it down. I think it's a wrap. The Jaguars and the Panthers are 1-2, and I think it's over for them. However, the Saints and Ravens, 1-2 and still contenders. The Bears are 3-0, but I don't see them even making the playoffs. I don't. But the Seahawks at 3-0, I see them winning everything right now, including Russ for MVP. And that's done. That's wrapped up. It was wrapped up in week 2. We know that the MVP is about narratives. With Lamar Jackson, what was it? It was not bad for a running back. So once the media picked that up, and once the league got behind him, not bad for a quarterback, with racial undertones in that as well. He played really well, and the team was winning and winning. So that was our MVP. We knew that before even week 8. Right now with Russ, we know he's the MVP before week 3. We knew it. We're here at week 4. We know Russ is the MVP. Because what's been the storyline? He's never got a vote. So now we're all kind of contemplating like, Russ has been good for a while. He never got a vote? Yeah, Russ deserves one. Russ deserves one. And the team's playing really well. What's he got? 14 touchdowns in the first 3 weeks? NFL record? Russ got it. It's over. So some teams I'm intrigued by moving forward: the Dolphins, the Bucks, and the Steelers. The Bucks and the Steelers for the same reason. You got older quarterbacks, and you got really elite defenses. So you have 2 quarterbacks who are capable of throwing for 4,000 yards, but do they need to? Can the defense do what the defenses have done for both of those franchises when they won rings? You need a running game to be consistent for both the Steelers and the Bucks. They have capable horses. It's just about, can you get it done every week? Can you control the clock? Because when it comes down to the playoffs, I ain't got to tell these 2 franchises. They know. When you run the ball and you stop the run, it doesn't matter what era it is, you're going to go pretty deep. So, and then with Miami, I'm just thinking like, you're not tanking because why would you do that? You got your quarterback. You got Tua. I thought he was healthy and ready to go, but you got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who does Ryan Fitzpatrick things. He's good enough to start right now for this team. When does he, however, play himself out of that role? You need Tua to play this year because he needs that experience. If Tua does not play this year, then he starts week 1 of next year, and he's a rookie next year when the rest of your team has kind of moved forward, and you need him more than anybody else to play great. He needs to cut his teeth in the league this year. but it looks like they can win some games. So, like, at what point does he come in? Not against the Bills, not against the Patriots. You don't want to introduce him like that. Hope nobody gets hurt, but he needs that experience if you're talking about that. Now, coaches on the hot seat. Let me hit you with some Captain Obvious. Bill O'Brien, why are you still employed? And I had said this before. Bill O'Brien is going to be the only coach who's fired because of what player on a different team does. The better DeAndre Hopkins looks for Arizona, the worse he looks. Bill O'Brien. D-Hop still, if he keeps going for 150 and a few touchdowns every game, that affects Bill O'Brien's employment. In addition to the Texans not playing well, they haven't won a game. I don't know why he's still there. I think that Houston is afraid to reset from a culture standpoint, and that's what that would be. But you got to pull the trigger. You got a young quarterback who's not getting younger. Get B.O.B. out of there. Same thing, Dan Quinn. What? Maybe it was a little crazy to if you were to get rid of him Super Bowl right after that 28-3 collapse. But then he's done it in consecutive weeks now. Same thing. Arthur Blank and the ATL loves this dude. But you got to put that personal stuff aside. You're trying to win. And he's not doing it. And he's not going to do it. Prolific offense, and they can't win games. That's what you're there to do as a coach. He's got to go. Adam Gase, his house should be for sale. We know what that's about. And then for me, Doug Marrone and Matt Patricia from the Jaguars and the Lions respectively. It's like Patricia hasn't been there a whole lot. Hasn't been there for too long. But with both of these coaches, it's like we know what it's going to be. There's not going to be any transcendence. There's not going to be any sort of crazy raise in the level of coaching or the team's success. And they got players. Even the Jags gutted the roster and still were capable of winning some games, so respect to that. But they've maxed out. So I need those two guys to go as well if you want things to happen. Now, NFL Player of the Month, Russell Wilson, 3-0, 14 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I'm going to run through these to let you guys get out of here and set your fantasy lineups. NFL Player of the Month also, Josh Allen, respect, 3-0. Not only 10 touchdowns and 1 interception, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he's thrown for over 1,000 yards already. AFC Defensive Player of the Month, TJ Watt, who I predicted to be the Defensive Player of the Year. 3.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, and a pick. NFC's Defensive Player of the Month is Levante David, 24 tackles already, 2 for a loss, interception, and then what he does best is force fumbles and recover fumbles. Defensive Offensive Rookie of the Year, the undrafted rookie from Jacksonville. We were just talking about James Robinson. He's already got 210 yards rushing in addition to 129 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. And your Defensive Rookie of the Month, another Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Antoine Winfield, who's kind of he's giving me Rondé Barber vibes because he's in the backfield. He's got 2 sacks already, so as a safety, and a forced fumble. So shout out to that young man. I thought I was going to get out of here. I thought time would run out before we could talk bad takes and good takes. You know we do this it's about accountability. Not just at the warm-up, across the whole landscape, the United States and beyond, accountability. But I can only do my part. I had a pretty bad take. And it wasn't a full take because we were running out of time. I said, man, don't do anything with the Bucs tight ends. Don't play them in fantasy. Don't root for them because ain't nothing going to happen with them. The Bucs tight ends last game combined for 9 catches and about 100 yards. So I really can't call it. They're never a part of a Bruce Arians offense. Not really with the Steelers. Ben liked this tight end, though. Not with the Arizona Cardinals. And not here. They had 2 good ones last year. They got 3 of them this year. So let's see if they keep that train going. But the good takes. Andy Isabella, my man. Friend of the show. Favorite of the show. Andy Isabella, man. 2 touchdowns. Did his thing. So if I'm going to take accountability for my own squad, I can't call it when it comes to the tight ends. Give me some love. My man Andy Isabella doing big things. And the rest of that Cardinals offense run by Kyler Murray. So it's time to wrap it up here. It is 12:55. You have 5 minutes to set your fantasy lineups. If you want advice, I'm not going to give it to you this week because I'm bitter and I need to win myself. So there might be some people in my league listening right now. I'm not trying to help y'all out. I need this W to get back to 500 before I build and do my thing. All right? I'm banking on Adrian Peterson. I hope he's got something in the tank to hold it down until Christian McCaffrey comes back. Set your lineups. Get your pizza going. Get your wings going. Get this thing right here going. Pull up on the couch. Thanks for being here with us at the warm-up. God bless you all. And we'll see you next week. Peace and love.